today, unfortunately, the behavior I'm seeing, the behavior that all of us as Ghanaians are seeing, cannot be described with any other word apart from foolishness. Extreme foolishness. I'm a Northerner, so vote for me. I'm a Southerner, so vote for me. I come from Ashanti, so vote for me. It's extreme foolishness. Look, there's no doubt that they're extremely brilliant Northerners who understand the state of Ghana today and who may have solutions to the problems that confront us today. And they are Northerners, no problem. But it is also true that they are Northerners who are complete idiots. If I like, tell me. There are Ashantis who are broad-minded, who have the commitment to contribute to building Ghana and so on, who may understand the problems of this country, who have a clear commitment to fighting in order to resolve the problems. But are there no idiots in Ashanti? There are fancies who may be brilliant and so on. Are there no charlatans and vagabonds who are fancies? So this whole argument about I'm an Ashanti, I'm a Northerner and so on, it simply doesn't make sense. It is reducible to extreme foolishness. And if it was just foolishness, we may excuse it. But it is foolishness which has the tendency of dividing our country on lines that eventually will become detrimental to our collective effort to move forward in the 21st century. That's my worry. Because some people, reckless people, there are some people who are egoistic and so on, some people who think that they are better than all of us, and therefore we should crown them as our kings and queens, are engaged in this extreme stupidity. One day, innocent people are going to pick up weapons as happened in other places and fight against themselves and kill themselves and cause mayhem and so on.
Whenever I say my PENDREAM TV there, I see them yopo.
You were till for a PENDREAM TV in Pacho. When you say the news not all from an near the brow. News ya Obabeti in Pacho, so I didn't want to Trebia and also I didn't Trefa. News be I present your platform where you saw for your voice note not fast any. I was 0277 128 777. You're the 2 PENDREAM FM, so Magana for Ninati Onka. Yanko Nyanko T and a story I did Bremono.
Kenneth Oforiata, who made it clear that he was going to spend all of his resources or all the resources needed by Dr. Bawumia to become the presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party. Indeed, Honorable Che Mensa Bonsu, often referred to as the majority leader, and I don't know how he can be referred to as a majority leader in the kind of parliament that we have today, also indicated that he was throwing his full weight behind Dr. Bawumia. Now, at a certain point, there was no doubt at all that persons who were holding government appointments, that persons who were in the executive seats in the party, including regional chairman and so on, preferred Dr. Bawumia as their candidate. Now, it's important to find out why he became the preferred candidate. For some who vigorously campaigned for him, it was a question of continuity. they wanted those who had implemented the vision of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to carry on. You understand? There's an element of continuity. That's interesting. I'll come to that later. Then there were those who actually supported him because he's a Northerner. And the reason they gave was simply that the time had come for the new patriotic party to demonstrate that it can accommodate other persons from other regions other than Akan regions. That was interesting. And that position was interesting because our history is clear that Ghanaian voters have not been against Northerners. We elected Dr. Hillel Liman as president of this republic. We elected John Mahama as president of this republic. There have been Northerners on various tickets which have won elections, one of them being Aliu Mahama and so on. So Ghanaians as a people have never rejected Northerners. And we don't have a problem of electing a Northerner in order to make the point that Northerners are part of Ghana and have a stake in Ghana. So for those who wanted to elect him because he's a Northerner, I think that they were concerned about their party, not Ghana. Their concern was for their party to demonstrate that it can be accommodating of Northerners. That's very significant. Okay? Now, it is also very, very interesting that those who made this argument, who pushed for Bawumia's election because he's a Northerner, are the very same people, including Dr. Bawumia himself, who did everything possible to remove a Northerner from the position of president. You cannot overlook that. When Dr. Bawumia was going around the country campaigning that the incompetent one should be removed from power, he was not campaigning against a Westerner or Easterner or Centraler or whatever. He was campaigning against a Northerner. And that for me ought to be significant. Now, what are elections about? The elections we are conducting. We are electing presidential candidates of parties who are going to go into an election to compete to become president of Ghana. That whole process, what is the end game? What is it about? I'm convinced that that process is about selecting a team which would which would take over first the resources of this country and manage those resources for the purpose of solving the concrete problems that Ghanaians face. And we are told that one of the major problems we face now, I don't agree fully. We can go into that. But we are told that one of the major problems we face now is inflation. That is one of the problems we are told. We are told that another huge problem we face is generally unemployment, but more pronounced youth unemployment. We are told that we face a crisis of lack of access to social services. Okay? We are told that we have not yet developed the national infrastructure which is able to harness the power of women, the productive power of women and so on, in order to improve our economy. We are told that this country is facing a problem of indebtedness. There's a huge debt overhang, and so on. And there are many more problems, okay? The transport sector is in a complete mess. Complete mess. Last week, I saw a video of a state transport bus plying our roads. And this state transport bus has two drivers. One of them is sitting behind the wheels, and the other is using a stick and walking in front of the bus, measuring the depth of potholes and directing the driver as to where to pass. That's the state of our road infrastructure. One of the best roads that we've ever had since independence is the Accra-Tema motorway. Only last night, I was speaking to a friend who was going to go to Tema, and he drives a Mercedes saloon, and he was thinking about going to Tema in an Uber. I said, my brother, what's the problem? He said, well, I don't have a spare tire. And given the craters on the motorway, it is likely that I'll have a puncture. And if I have a puncture, I have to park the car in the middle of the motorway. Even the motorway. That is the state in which it is. And road infrastructure is horrible. You understand? So that's one of the problems that the people who are competing to be elected have to deal with when they have been elected. Now, Senna, tell me how the election of a Westerner can resolve these problems. Just tell me how, if you elect a Northerner, inflation will come down. Just tell me how, if you elect a Dagomba, these problems will be solved. Tell me how, if you elect a Gadangbe, access to social services would automatically be enhanced. I mean, you know, when we sit on these platforms, we ought to restrain ourselves, okay? We ought to use language that they say is temperate and so on. So most of the times, that is my difficulty. Because in the end, you tend to use language that does not really describe the situation. So we are always struggling. Those of us who have been doing this over the years are always struggling to find the appropriate words to describe some behavior. Today, unfortunately, the behavior I'm seeing, the behavior that all of us as Ghanaians are seeing, cannot be described with any other word apart from foolishness. Extreme foolishness. I'm a Northerner, so vote for me. I'm a Southerner, so vote for me. I come from Ashanti, so vote for me. It's extreme foolishness. Look, there's no doubt that they're extremely brilliant Northerners who understand the state of Ghana today and who may have solutions to the problems that confront us today. And they are Northerners, no problem. But it is also true that there are Northerners who are complete idiots. If I lie, tell me. There are Ashantis who are broad-minded, who have the commitment to contribute to building Ghana and so on, who may understand the problems of this country, who have a clear commitment to fighting in order to resolve the problems. But are there no idiots in Ashanti? There are Fantis who may be brilliant and so on. Are there no charlatans and vagabonds who are Fantis? So this whole argument about Ashanti, Northern and so on, it simply doesn't make sense. It is reducible to extreme foolishness. And if it was just foolishness, we may excuse it. But it is foolishness which has the tendency of dividing our country on lines that eventually will become detrimental to our collective effort to move forward in the 21st century. That's my worry. Because some people, reckless people, there are some people who are egoistic and so on, some people who think that they are better than all of us, and therefore we should crown them as our kings and queens, are engaged in this extreme stupidity. One day, innocent people are going to pick up weapons as happened in other places and fight against themselves and kill themselves and cause mayhem and so on. That is what ethnic divisions lead to. We've seen it in Rwanda. We've seen it in other places. For years, Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah did everything possible to unite this country, and he succeeded. Within the last few years, there are some who have burst onto the stage and they are determined to wreck the achievements of Kwame Nkrumah. We must stop them. We must stop them. Because what they're doing is extremely dangerous. I lived in the Nkrumah period. And one of the things I cannot forget is that anybody, for as long as you were Ghanaian, could contest elections in any constituency in Ghana. Where you hailed from was not important. The language you spoke was not important. So you could actually come from Agbogboshi and contest elections in Tamale Central. There was no law which banned any Ghanaian or prevented any Ghanaian from contesting elections anywhere in our country. We have to get back to those glorious days in which attempts were made to forge national unity. I lived also in the period of General Agyapong. And indeed, in those days, the people of the Eastern region, were so happy with Colonel Minyila from the north as their regional commissioner, regional minister. He didn't come from there. Up till today, the record of Minyila in the Eastern region is unbelievable. He didn't come from there. Colonel Akwe Norte Ega became the Northern Regional Minister, and up to today, the people of the North are still praising Colonel Akwe Norte for what he did. Major Dawuni became the Central Regional Minister. Up to today, the people of the Central Region swear by his name. What has happened to us all of a sudden? What has happened to Ghana all of a sudden? Why have we pushed charlatans, complete charlatans, into places of influence and authority who are poisoning our country? Look, if this extreme stupidity was just limited to ethnicity and regionalism and so on, bad as it is, maybe, just maybe, we could overlook it. But now, religion is being added into the cocktail. Most frightening. And you see, those who are doing this, they don't even seem to know the Ghanaian people. Because if they knew the Ghanaian people, they would temper their stupidity. They would temper their stupidity a bit. My brother, listen to me carefully. I'm not going back. Just from 1992, the National Democratic Congress presented a presidential ticket which was led by Mr. Rawlings with Aka as his running mate. Both of them were Southerners. Both of them were Christians, and they won the election. This is 1992.
By a very wide magnitude.
This is 1992. Okay? Why? We went into another election. John Dramani Mahama and Kwesi Atta. Both of them were Christians. They won the elections. Mills Mahama, same. They won the elections as well. So, these people who are waking up today and doing all these permutations, where were they? Master, let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go back to 1951. Osajefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah came from a small minority ethnic group. He actually came from Nkrofo, small village in the western region. He decided not to contest elections in the western region, not in the central region, not in any other region, but in Greater Accra, the heartland of the Ga people. Accra Central, Ododo. Who was his opponent? Obeche Bilamte. He beat him to Ras. Beat him, quarter, beat him to Ras. This is our history. This is the proud history of Ghana. This is the history which shows the Ghanaian people have matured, have risen above ethnicity and so on. Why are we being taken back? You know, I've heard all kinds of statements. And some of the people who are making these statements, they can be forgiven because they don't know our history. Okay. One of the reasons which MPP appears to be suffering from an ethnic tag has nothing to do with the selection of their presidential candidate. It has everything to do with the fatwa which was issued by Bafo Akoto, which became the foundation of the National Liberation Movement. It was Bafo Akoto in those days who issued a fatwa that all Ashantis in all other political parties should come to Kumasi and become the foundation of the NLF. That's where the problem started. So in the end, R.R. Amponsa, who became the chairman of the Council of Elders, resigned from the CPP in order to go and become a foundation member of the NLM. Victor Owusu, who became presidential candidate of the People's Popular Party, staunch CPP member, left the CPP on account of the fatwa issued by Bafo Akoto. And indeed, if you look at those who are making comments about the history of the political parties and so on, sometimes I sit back and laugh. There are people who have claimed that the New Patriotic Party is the true inheritor of the United Convention Party, UGCC and so on. It is not true. The real foundation of today's MPP is the Convention People's Party. is a breakaway faction of the Convention People's Party. Check the historical record. Check. By the time they were forming the NLM, there was no UGCC. UGCC had collapsed. No UGCC at all. Okay? So if you check the list of the foundation members of the NLM, they all came from the CPP. The vast majority of them came from the CPP. Making the NLM an ethnic contraption which was taken out of the Convention People's Party. This is the true history. Check the history. So today, all kinds of ignorant people who have not taken time to learn from our history and so on, they make all kinds of claims. Okay? That is the worry. That is what, one of the things, not the only, one of the things which has created this impression that the NPP is battling with. Now, what is the other thing that has compelled the NPP to try to show that it is not an account party? Today, if you look at our electoral pattern, you would find that over a long period of time, the voter region has always voted in a particular way. It is not NDC. Check the records. The voter region overwhelmingly voted for CPP in those days. From 1969, the voter region then shifted its vote to the National Alliance of Liberals, led by Kobna Adbele Bedema. It continued to vote mainly for the People's National Party, led by Hila Liman. Okay? And now it appears to be voting for the NDC. Check the trend. Check the trend. There must be reasons for it. Don't forget that in the referendum which led to the incorporation of Trans-Voter Togoland into Ghana, the CPP campaigned for the inclusion of the Trans-Voter Togoland into Ghana. Elements who were sympathetic to the NPP tradition or who belonged to the NPP tradition campaigned for secession. One of them was S.G. Anto, who was appointed by Dr. Buzia as Ghana's ambassador to Togoland after he won elections. Okay? So you see what brought about the division. Clear. You see what brought about that impression. Then in the 1979 elections, Mr. Victor Wushi described people from the voter region as inward-looking people. All the people in the voter region, he described them as inward-looking people. And it led to a tremendous backlash. So these are the elements. So the problems which have led to the development of a perception that the new patriotic party is an account party has many roots. You understand what I'm saying? And those roots are not outside the new patriotic party. They are from the new patriotic party itself. Now, interestingly, sometimes old age is beneficial. Sometimes, not always. When you begin to feel the pains in your bones, when you wake up in the morning and you are dizzy and so on, old age, you see, is a disadvantage. But sometimes, old age brings good things, you understand? And I recall when Aliu Mahama was chosen as the running mate of former President Kufuor, I can remember the statements that the New Patriotic Party made. Go back then. In fact, one particular newspaper which reported that was the Chronicle newspaper. Those of you who are interested in research, go and research. The New Patriotic Party made a statement to the effect that the election, the selection of Aliu Mahama as running mate has put paid to the suggestion that the NPP doesn't like Northerners, and that from then on, Northerners have fully been incorporated in the politics of the NPP. So how come that now we are back to a situation where we are being told again that Northerners have now been fully incorporated into the NPP? What happened to that statement they made earlier on? What has gone wrong? You know, we are all looking at the researches which are being done, the predictions which are being done about elections and so on. And me, sitting here, I have no doubt, and I don't think that there's a basis for doubt, that the most credible research institution today, which is doing forecast, is Global Info Analytics. It is the only body whose predictions have come close to anything. So I follow them, and I follow them religiously. And only last week, no, not last, this week actually, I saw their analysis. Now, they, for some reason, I don't know why, but they, for some reason, decided to find out the religious impact, or what will be the religious impact on the 2024 elections. And one of their findings is that when it comes to religion, former President John Dramani Mahama is way ahead of Aliyu Mahama, you know, he has so many names that sometimes you get confused.
Dr. Bawumia.
If you look at his baptismal certificate, the name on it is different from the name he's carrying today and so on. You understand?
One gets confused.
So you tend to get confused about what name he really bears. But they claim that their research shows that when it comes to the Muslim community, John Dramani Mahama is way ahead of Alhaji Bawumia. What does that tell us? He's not a Muslim, but he's way ahead of Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia when it comes to the Muslim vote. And then when it comes to the Christian vote, he's also way ahead of Bawumia. What gymnastics can change this situation? And you see, all of us are guided by our history, recent and otherwise. And I don't know how we can forget that, in fact, the restoration or the enactment of legislation which put religion, different religions at par, happened at a time when the president and his vice were not Muslims. At the time that the Muslim festival, Eid al-Fitr, became a public holiday, there was no Muslim in the castle at Osu. And yet it happened. I object to the state using its resources to pay for the performance of religious rites of any religion. Okay? I object to it on principle. But this Hajj business, when did it happen? Did it happen when a Muslim was head of state? No! So from practical experience over the years, our Muslim brothers and sisters know that their interests can be catered for by persons who are not Muslim. They know that. And they know that it has been better catered for under regimes which did not pretend to be Muslim. So that is also very clear. And this is our history. You understand? It's very clear. Now today, the whole world is focusing its attention on what is happening in Palestine. Even the French president, Emmanuel Macron, who initially declared full support for Israel, yesterday told the BBC that what Israel is doing is against international law and that it cannot be justified either in law or in morality. This is Emmanuel Macron. Okay? Even the United States of America has had to change its perspective on the happenings in Palestine. The US has now said that humanitarian pauses leading to a ceasefire must be seen as an imperative in dealing with the crisis that has emerged in West Asia. Now here you have Alhaji Timothy Mahmoud Bawumia playing all kinds of religious cards, and he's absolutely dead silent on what is happening in Palestine. No comment on the bombing of churches, no comment on the bombing of mosques, no comment on the genocide which is being committed in Palestine. I can't believe it. Yesterday, the Organization of Islamic States met in Saudi Arabia to examine the concrete situation in Palestine. They have issued a statement. What is our vice president, who so much in the center of this effort to capture the hearts and minds of religious people? Why is he so quiet? Why hasn't he made any comment? There are all kinds of speculations. And I don't like to deal with speculation. I like to deal with facts. Fact is that the president, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has publicly stated that his government stands firmly with Israel. Not just stands with Israel, but stands firmly with Israel. Is Dr. Bawumia standing firmly with Israel? Of course he must be standing firmly with Israel. He's standing firmly with Israel. That is his government. Is he afraid that if he contradicts the government position, he may not win or could not have won the presidency? And if he is ready to sacrifice his commitment to the sanctity of religion, including Islam, for his position, is he worth any consideration by the Muslim community? Not just the Muslim community, is he just worth any consideration even by the Christian community, which is also the target of the genocidal aggression of Israel? This is just a question I'm posing. He is too quiet. He is quiet. He can't talk on the situation in Palestine. How does he then represent any religious interest? Now, yesterday, I was also looking at one of the surveys which have been done. I was looking at the results and so on. And interestingly, this survey results indicated that, and of course, the debate about who should become his running mate has already begun. Interestingly, this survey results indicated that the highest votes he can get will come from his choice of Matthew Opoku Prempeh as running mate. And do you know what the highest vote was? 39%. Now that's interesting, because on his own, in a face-to-face with Mahama, he gets 38. But if he chooses Martin Opoku Prempeh, it rises to 39%, 1 percentage increase. Okay? But if he chooses that Osofo from Pentecost Church, what is his name? Opoku Nina. He drops from 39% to 19%. Why? Why? My simple analysis, my very simple analysis suggests that it will be because he will lose even the little sympathies he has within the Muslim community and will not be able to win more sympathies from the Christian community. So this part of introducing religion is a suicidal part for Dr. Bawumia. Complete suicidal part for Dr. Bawumia. And this is what the scientific poll is showing. They say those who have ears, let them listen. You can't force them to listen. But this is what science is showing. You know, in the run-up to the elections, the November 4th elections, hey, I saw interesting figures. Somebody whose name I will never mention, at some point, was convinced that Dr. Bawumia was going to get 95% of the vote. 95! Hey, 95% of the vote. And that was when even Mr. Lanche Martin was in the race. Then they started revising the figure down. You know, small, I think finally, the lowest figure from their camp was 70%. That was about a day or so before the election. I saw some 70%. But before then, they were pegging it at 75%. Then after the election, I listened to one of my very good friends, you know, such a wonderful friend, Nana Kumia. Nana Kumia said they were shocked, they were surprised. They were not expecting Kennedy Agyapong to get beyond 20%. This is Nana Kumia. So even him, robust campaigner for Dr. Bawumia, was surprised. Now listen to me very carefully. By November 4th, Mr. Lanche Martin had pulled out of the race. And many of his supporters, including at least 2 ministers that I know, lots of members of parliament and so on, had now defected to the Bawumia camp. Which meant that their votes no longer went to Dr. Bawumia. And it's not just their, to Mr. Lanche Martin, and it's not just their votes, it's the votes of their supporters and so on. All of those votes went to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Now, if their votes did not go to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, what percentage would he have scored? Ask yourself. What percentage would he have scored? Now let us assume that those people, they just declared they didn't vote for him. What does that also tell us? If they just declared and didn't vote for him, what does that tell us? So even with the defectors from the Lanche Martin camp, he could only manage a paltry 61%. That's a huge problem. You understand? Now, look, I'm going to be very honest with you. Extremely honest with you. When all of this campaign was going on, all of us were doing our backroom calculations. You understand? And all of us were asking ourselves many questions. And I knew, from my analysis, that if Kennedy Agyapong won the primaries, the NDC was in trouble. I'm telling you honestly. If Kennedy Agyapong had won these primaries, what was the NDC going to say that Kennedy Agyapong cannot say? What method were they going to use to deflate Kennedy Agyapong's campaign? Because he's unorthodox. There's no method to his campaign. It is very difficult to strategize against a candidate like Kennedy Agyapong. So I thought that in fact the biggest problem that the NDC could have was a Kennedy Agyapong candidature. And I thought that also because I put my ears to the ground. He had become the grassroots man. In fact, his popularity is bigger outside the party than within the party. Yes. I mean, taxi drivers swearing by his name. Truck drivers swearing by his name. Street hawkers swearing by his name. I've told the story before. I can tell it again. There's a lady who works with Pan-African Television who went to a hairdressing salon and opened her mouth to criticize Kennedy Agyapong. The hairdressers did not want to touch her hair again. True story. There's another very beautiful woman who works with Pan-African Television who was on a trotro, and I don't know why she won't keep her mouth shut on a trotro. When criticizing Kennedy Agyapong, the trotro driver just parked and said, "Get out." That was the phenomena which was unfolding. Now, to be honest with you again, I had never thought of the possibility. Never thought of the possibility that one day, the new patriotic party will be left with a choice of Bawumia or Kennedy Agyapong. Never crossed my mind. Never crossed my imagination. But we got there. Okay. Now, I'd like to pose some question. Very simple question. What is it that makes Kennedy Agyapong, Kennedy Agyapong, such a viable candidate in Ghanaian elections today? What is it? Think about it. It may very well be that the loss of trust and hope in the established political parties may account for that. And if that is what accounts for that, then the political parties and the political leadership of this country need to sit up and think again. They are losing it. They are losing it. Something is happening down there which they don't understand, which they are not making the effort to understand. And it is in their own interest and in the national interest for some people to spend time to think about what is it that is happening down there that makes ordinary people, taxi drivers, truck drivers, market women, and so on, have so much confidence in Kennedy Agyapong. It's important. Now, my brother, I listened to you very well. And you made a fantastic point. And I think we should listen to you. It's not my point. I'm learning it from you. A really fantastic point. What is it that gave Kennedy Agyapong so much popularity? What is it that made people think that he was the man to hand over our destiny to? And I listen to people and I say, Okanokure, he speaks the truth. He speaks the truth. He is not afraid of the establishment. He's ready to stand up even to his leaders and so on. Why? Because this is a guy who looks people in their faces and says, my own party is useless. He said that. There are too many thieves in my party. That was his message. Like Trump, he said, I want to clean the swamp. And so on. Okay? Now that also presents a huge challenge to Kennedy Agyapong himself. Because he can lose all that popularity and lose his relevance if he changes his mouth, as we say in the vernacular. If today he comes up and says, vote for the very people I call thieves, he has lost it. If he comes up and he says things that are different from what he says before, people are no longer going to see him as the man who speaks truth to power. They may very well even see him as an opportunist. So he himself, having gotten this far, has to be careful what he does with his mouth. The same mouth which made him so popular and which has made him a formidable force in Ghanaian political discourse and action is the same mouth which can destroy him. Yes, they are rushing to him. They are doing all kinds of things around him and so on to make him recant. But if he recants, there are consequences for him. He must understand that the choices are his. When the results were being declared at the Crowd Sports Stadium, and there was a little ceremony and so on, I saw a few things and I was wondering. When Kennedy Agyapong was invited to speak, they played a certain song. Okay? Obiara was the master. Kennedy Agyapong was the master and so on. And I was wondering, what was the relevance of that song at that time? Who decided to be teasing him at that time? Because they were just teasing him. And it didn't end there. They were urging him to get up and go and dance. Go and dance. Kennedy, go and dance. They didn't ask any of the candidates to dance. He's the only person who can dance. I'm not sure that his dancing skills are wonderful. Because the few I've seen on video, the few dancing skills I've seen on video were not so very impressive. You know. But they were urging him to go and dance to a song which says that he has his master. Bawumia has become his new master. And so on. And I thought it was unfair treatment. I thought it was they didn't treat him with the respect that he deserves. You understand? Especially when they themselves are saying now that they are going to rely on him for their campaign. Is that how you treat somebody you are going to rely on for your campaign? And so on. I was wondering. But you see, I listen a lot, especially in times like this. And I heard his spokesperson on the Tuesday after the declaration of the results. And the spokesperson said many interesting things. One of the most interesting things that he said was that, but the people who are urging Kennedy Agyapong to come and join the campaign are the same people who said that he doesn't know how to speak. So when he joins the campaign, what is he going to do? So they should give him time. He's going to go to school for 1 year to learn how to speak. And when he has mastered the art of speaking, he will join the campaign. By that time, the elections will be over. But that's what his spokesperson said. Then last night, late at night, I was doing my usual thing of checking my messages and so on. I came across an interesting video. And it was a video of Kennedy Agyapong. And what was he saying? That he spent his resources helping people to become members of parliament, sustaining them, and so on. And that those people, they betrayed him. So from now on, not a farthing of his money is going to help any of those MPs who betrayed him. That's interesting. So the interviewer then asked him, so why you won't do good again? What are you going? He said, I would rather collect my money, walk along the street and give it to disabled beggars rather than spend it on sponsoring members of parliament. It's a statement about his commitment to the next campaign. Yes, sir. Clear statement about his commitment to the next campaign. Very clear. But his spokesman went further. His spokesman went further. I think he's a lawyer. Yeah. Whoa, lawyer. Charlie, the guy can speak. Hey! The guy can speak, Osana. He can speak. He went further. Said, we will pay them back in their own coin. What does that mean? What does that mean? Say they will pay them back in their own coin. Now, so when the National Executive Committee of the NPP met and decided to bring forward quickly the parliamentary primaries, I knew what it was about. Yeah? If you have only a few weeks, it is difficult to look for candidates, make them file, sponsor them, to fight against sitting MPs. So that decision actually is in the interest of sitting MPs. It helps sitting MPs. And it may be the result of the threats from Kennedy Agyapong and so on. I know we don't have too much time, but let me end with just one more. There's a gentleman who was the star of the New Patriotic Party's campaign, both in 2000 and 2016. He's from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. He's a lecturer. And anytime there was a controversial issue, all of you used to call him Dr. Amuako Ba. Wait, Naozugo. Hey! I heard him speak after the elections. He was clear. He said, this has not been an election, this has been an auction. And that's against all the laws of Ghana. And he was taking steps to seek a court order to set the results aside. I don't know what he has done, but this was the threat he issued. Now, finally, I've been surprised in the last couple of weeks by a few things. One of the things that surprised me was the movement for change, their outing in Kumasi. And my brother, if I don't tell you that I was surprised, then I'll be lying. I don't know what room it was, but this was a huge room filled with capacity, all yellow. And they were so enthusiastic. This is not people who have been buzzed. You can always tell the difference. These are not people who have been buzzed. With the announcement that 150,000 people in Ashanti alone have volunteered as canvassers for the Alanche Martin campaign. You have to watch that. They moved from there, I think they went to Obuasi, and Obuasi was the same. Huge outing. And then they moved from there, they went somewhere in the central region. Okay. Okay. And then Nat Hall, and so on. All of it, the attendance is impressive. Okay? Now, I don't honestly think that Mr. Alanche Martin has become the third force that people are clamoring for. He hasn't yet become the third force that people are clamoring for. But he could very well become that third force. Dependent on messaging. Is he able to distance himself from the mess in which he served as Minister of Trade? If he's able to distance himself from the mess in which he served as Minister of Trade, that may bring him some advantages. Even though it's a very difficult thing to do. You understand? But some momentum is building. And that momentum for me is significant. Then I'm driving around Accra and I see huge billboards of somebody in a mask. And I've been told, and I believed the person who told me that, oh, it's an artist. But yesterday somebody was telling me that, hey, don't make a mistake, he's not an artist. That person is jumping into the race. Who has so much money? Because those billboards are very, very expensive. So who is this that has so much money? And what is the game plan? We haven't seen the end of the game yet. We are in a very fluid situation. And everybody has to watch sharp. I am worried. I'm worried. I'm worried by the extent to which our politics has been monetized. And there's no doubt. The Bawumia campaign at least spent 100 million Ghana cedis only on the day of election. At least. That's the extent of monetization of our politics. And it is frightening. My brother, I don't have anything more to say.
In fact, you said quite enough. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I guess, okay, so it's past our time. So today, it looks like we are done on one topic.
Oh, okay. Are you sure?
Well, this is David Senna who says Alan Cash and his movement should not be given any opportunities. He is and still remains a part of the MPP and Akufo-Addo's failed leadership and government. Ghana deserves better, and GM is the only person to save Ghana and Ghanaians from the current mess and challenges we're experiencing. I won't talk about Bawumia because he's a failure personified. And this one says, good morning. This is Kofi Smith from Elmina. Please, I think the media must advocate for a debate between Dr. Bawumia, Mr. Alan Chomantin, His Excellency John Mahama. Thank you. That is that's somebody's advocacy. And of course, there is the and of course there's this one which says, hi Senna, JM is not a Muslim, but he built National Mosque. He declared his positions against gay rights. He declared his position in Palestine. In this, what is the position of Dr. Bawumia? So there are many messages that we could have gone through, but unfortunately we have to close the show for today. Of course, our second topic was supposed to be about the budget. The other one was about dialysis. We'll come back to those topics. The budget will, because of next week, we must discuss what the government is putting before us to address the concrete challenges that face us. Those are the issues that we need to spend time on. But unfortunately, that's not what we are usually discussing. We don't know where we are headed to. Only God knows. You see kindly donate on the screen, on your screens. When you see kindly donate, we're asking for donations of items. When I say items, I mean clothing, water, food to take to. Last time we were in Mepe. This time around, Pan-African TV intends to head to the other direction, to other constituencies that were affected. So continue to donate, and we've seen a lot of love from the United Church and many of you who continue to donate. That number is the number you can call if you want to donate any items, and also it's a Momo number 0551521101. The name that you see, it's Dorcas Frimpong. And of course today is the birthday of the club that calls themselves something Continental Masters. Now they can't even beat a second division team in Togo. Accra Suffolk. Today is their birthday, and of course I don't know whether to extend congratulations or to wish him the best in the next phase of his life. He assures me that he hasn't ended it yet. He turned 60 yesterday. Togbi Loli exited the Custom Exercise and Preventive Service. Togbi is now past the retirement age, has retired. He said he has a lot ahead of him, so we should be looking forward to a lot from him. Already I've seen your plans, Togbi. I don't know whether congratulations are in best, but I can wish you the best in your next phase. A big thank you to Comrade Kwesi Prats, who is General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. Felix Kwachofosu is the former Deputy Minister for Communications, and of course NDC's parliamentary candidate for AAK, Abra Asebu Kwamankese, and Beatrice Annan, who is a member of the NDC's communication team. Always wonderful to see him, and it was wonderful to have Ebo Bachman join us today from he himself said it's the Afafranto movement. It's the movement for change. Thank you. And I see you, and I hope to see you more. I am Senna Nombo.
Movement for change people appear to be very articulate.
Yes.
The few that I've come in touch with, Solo, the lawyer, what's his name?
Apia Dankwa.
Apia Dankwa.
Yeah, many more. Yes. And let me say a big thank you to. Let me say a big thank you to.
Sorry, OTCC a platform my friend PENDREAM TV. And I uti story no. Na o feedback here and pa story what no. Any story be our platform needs to be our tia opese. My feedback no. Fafa WhatsApp message or WhatsApp number 0277128777 na yebebo e wo Pendream FM Ghana fo nyina ate won ka
Dedi kama mamena Pendream TV ase. Na so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, Pendream TV.